I just need to say something. I think the opening stand-up comedy monologues of Seinfeld by Jerry Seinfeld are absolute garbage, 100% trash. And the only thing that I think would be worse than the actual stand-up comedy monologues would be what they would be like today if Seinfeld was still a show. Can you imagine what his stand-up comedy routine would be like if he had technology to draw from? So I was on Twitter there the other day, and someone says, "Don't at-symbol me, bro." And I was like, what's the deal? Why aren't we using real words? So just from now on, we're just going to use at-symbol? Why do we even say the word at? I'm just going to say A with the circle and the thing. What's the deal? Yeah, don't at-symbol me, bro. What's the deal? So from now on, in my daily life, am I supposed to say I-S at-symbol the table? What's the deal? Why don't we just use symbols for everything? What's the deal? I don't understand. And at me, bro? I'm not your bro. I don't even know you. You're not even my third cousin. If you're my third cousin, I could legally marry you, but you're not. So, why am I coming at you? Why don't you come at me? Why don't you come to me? Why am I coming at you? What's the deal? I just don't understand the Twitter thing. It's like the bird. What's the deal? Why is it a blue bird? Why isn't it a yellow bird? Why isn't it a big bird? I don't get it. Twitter, tweet, I don't get it. What's the deal? Hey guys, it's Harry with Harry Chronicles Seinfeld. Really glad to be back. I know it's been about a week since I had my last episode, but really excited. And again, this is the only Nebraska-created podcast up to 2019 that chronicles every single episode of Seinfeld. I don't know if that's a fact or not, but we're just going to say that it is a fact. But we are already at the 11th episode of the series, the 6th episode of Season 2. It is entitled The Statue. And for a lot of people, this episode is monumental. It actually, for a lot of people, this is the beginning of the Seinfeld that we'll know down the road. And I'm one of those people that I think that something happens in this episode that really changes the landscape of this series. And so The Statue is the first episode written by Larry Charles, who went on to write tons of episodes of Seinfeld. And I really enjoyed him. I thought he brought a different perspective. What he also brought was an interest and a love of the character of Kramer. He felt that Kramer should kind of be infused more into the series, that storyline should revolve around him. Before The Statue, Kramer is used for about a minute or two just for a little bit of comedy. And, he's bizarre, he's out there, but he's usually confined to the apartment. And Larry Charles felt, hey, we got to center him in our storylines, get him out and about, and really, make the episodes, him be a big part of the episodes. And that starts right here with The Statue. The Statue's a mixed bag for me. There are parts of it that I absolutely love. There are other parts where it's kind of like, a little too simple. But because of a couple things, including the kind of turn of Kramer, I'm going to give this a positive review. First off, the storyline is so simple to this episode. There's just not much to it. Basically, Seinfeld, Jerry, needs his apartment cleaned out. Elaine is working at Pendant Publishing, and she has a client, and her client's boyfriend cleans apartments. He also is a college student, but cleans apartments. Later on in the episode, Jerry goes to the house cleaner. His name was Ray. He goes to his house and notices that a statue is missing. It's a statue that Jerry picked up in a box of things that belonged to his grandfather. And it was something that George wanted very, very badly. And so Jerry thinks, hey, that's the statue. But because Elaine is so connected to Ray's girlfriend, who has asked her to edit her book, Elaine is very cautious about how Jerry kind of goes forward with this. So there becomes kind of an argument at the coffee shop, and then ultimately Kramer takes it into his own hands, pretends that he's a detective, steals the statue, and brings it back to Jerry. Very simple. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm not a thesaurus, obviously, but I don't have a lot of words to say simple. But there just isn't a lot going on in this story. I think it's very basic. It's kind of vanilla, but there are things I really love about this episode. First off, Ray and Rava are great characters. Ray is this super theatrical, super kind of know-it-all, dramatic college student. I love it. He is played by Michael D. Conway, and to be honest, the way it ends, there's probably no way that he's ever going to come back, but I think he'd be a great character, for the series. To be honest, both Ray and Rava are two of my favorite side characters to appear in one episode. They were fantastic, and they really elevated this episode, in my opinion. Nureg Koppel, she played Rava. She was also phenomenal. Neither actor or actress had really gone on to do a whole lot, but they were tremendous in this role, and I felt they really elevated the material, and I enjoyed it a lot. The second major thing is, man, this is by far of the 11 episodes we've seen, this is the best we've seen Kramer. He's funny, and one part I really liked with him was he kept asking Jerry after Jerry tells him that the statue's gone. Kramer keeps saying, "Should we go get him? Should we go get him? Should we go get him?" And I thought that was awesome. And what's funny, at the beginning of the episode, Kramer takes some of Jerry Grandpa's clothes out of this box that he brought, and he ends up using the clothes to kind of pretend to be a detective and go over to Ray's house. And again, just the way Kramer you just saw this anger, and you saw him out of the apartment. It's totally kind of reminiscent of what we're going to see in the future episodes with Kramer. And I love it. You start to see a little physical comedy for Michael Richards, and that's when he really, he's good with a punchline. He's good being out there, but man, the physical comedy of Michael Richards really made Seinfeld for a lot of people, and I'm one. A couple of things that I want to talk about with this episode. There's a couple lines. One line I really enjoyed was from Rava. Elaine, they were in an elevator, and Elaine asked, "Oh, what'd you guys do last night?" And Rava said, "We made love like two animals." And the way she said it was just pow, she hit the punchline. And to be honest, to me, this is what the episode was lacking. There weren't a lot of there weren't a lot of funny little lines. There were some kind of comedic storylines and some comedic kind of stories, but they took a while. And that was the short, punchy little lines that made Seinfeld what it was. I really, really enjoyed it. The other thing that was enjoyable was Kramer and George were fighting over who was going to get the statue. And they decided to do some type of a game, one that I'd never heard of before. Let me see what that is called. It wasn't Touch a Tiger by Its Toe. That was basically the only one I've ever heard of. Ink-a-Dink. And so they're playing this game of Ink-a-Dink, and George is it. And then they have this big fight about, is it being good or is it bad? And Jerry and George say, no, you want to be it. So that means being it means he got the statue. And later, Jerry takes George aside and said, "It is bad." And George says, "It's bad?" And Jerry says, "It's very bad, very bad." And I loved it. I thought it was really enjoyable. But I felt like there was times that there could have been little jokes, more often. The other joke I enjoyed was there was a reference to MacArthur Park. You can't go wrong when you talk about baking a cake in the rain. Can't go wrong. MacArthur Park is a great song. Not really, but it is enjoyable, and I love the reference. But overall, the episode's huge. Larry Charles kind of brings his unique perspective in, and so I really enjoyed that part of it. He wrote Kramer as kind of a huge part of the storyline, and this just builds and builds and builds. And to a lot of people, Kramer is their favorite character. So for those two reasons, this is a great episode to check out. I will say, it really lacks in comparison to future episodes. They're still not quite sure how to intermingle like 3 or 4 storylines. So basically, a lot of these episodes, it's just one major storyline and then a couple little things. The good news is all 4 characters are starting to get big parts and starting to really click. And this episode, George, Elaine, Jerry, and Kramer all had big parts, and that was great to see. And I think this is a huge moment for Seinfeld. And again, we're only in episode 11. So compared to some series that take full seasons, like 24 episodes to really come together, Yeah, we're starting to see that Seinfeld's clicking and it's coming together. So really enjoyed it. Again, it's the statue. It's episode 11. Guys, I'm sorry if it's weekly with work and stuff. I've been really busy, but I love talking with you guys. I hope you're enjoying it as much as I am. And have a great night. Hope you don't hate me too much. Thanks so much. Yep. Peace.